buddy? Just out here, one of our tanks, Overflow, stopped working, and we had a lot of rain this year, so I needed to come push some dirt up around it with the skid steer, and I thought it would be a good little short video for you. Just kind of doing some work with the cat, if I even can. How muddy it is. We have a little overflow pond, clean out, and bring the dirt up against the tank. But see, it's just gotten washed away from it, and we don't have concrete around this tank, so we need to get some dirt pushed back up against it. We'll push all the little rocks up there. They'll kind of help hold the dirt, but we'll see what we can get done. This is just one of our little water traps. You know, we got a lot of range tanks that will just be out by themselves, but then we'll have a few of them like this one that have a set of pins around them. That way if we have a cow that's sick, or we get some cows mixed up, we can bring them in and sort them apart and take care of what we need to. We also use them in the springtime when we're finished calving out, to bring all our cows in so we can brand our calves and vaccinate them. That way they're nice and healthy. With BRD anymore, you really got to kind of stay on top of keeping your calves good and vaccinated, because you can lose cattle pretty quick. And as tight as the margins are, you can't really afford to lose anything, so might as well vaccinate them. You know, it's better. It's like giving your kids, having them vaccinated. You know, if you don't do it, it's probably not a good thing. It can turn out pretty bad. And nobody wants to eat sick cattle anyway. You know, everyone wants good healthy food. Well, this is our part of making our product nice and healthy and safe, because there's way too much, there's just too many. It's like with GMOs, there's too many people out there who have no idea what they're talking about, who are spreading just fear and hatred, and it doesn't do us any good not to get out there and be the forefront and say, you know, hey, we're actually growing a safe product. But you know, most ranchers and farmers, they're not out there in the public eye all the time, you know. So we might as well get out there and do what we can. Kind of helps getting all these rocks cleaned up anyway, because that way when we drive through the gate, they're not right under our tires. Just stumbling on them, falling on them. past 10-15 years, we were one of the only operations that had a skid steer. And the reason why we had it is because we did construction, and that's pretty much the only only way we had a skid steer. You usually just had a front end loader, old worn out loader. But now everyone has a skid steer. Most of the, all the big ranches have a skid steer because they are so versatile on a ranch. It's not even funny. We use these things for everything. We build fences with them. We dig ponds. We do more with the skid steer than we probably should, because I mean, you can, when you're using it like a big front end loader, you can I think you can kind of get yourself in a bind, but they'll come through it. I think skid steers are extremely important machines to have, especially now that we actually have a nice set of pallet forks. So it's one thing we didn't have till we bought this skid steer. We just did not have a set of pallet forks, and it's amazing just what you can do with these things. They're so versatile and handy that when we bought this skid steer, we actually kept our other skid steer. It's an old 753 Bobcat. It doesn't have the nice climate controlled cab, and it doesn't have, it's open, and this thing's got a nice radio in it. And that other one, when it's snowing or you're digging post holes and the dirt's blowing in your face, then I got myself stuck. It's not as comfortable as this one is, but they are definitely nice to have. We actually have enough moisture that there's moisture under the ground, but it's been frozen. Come on, get out. There we go. But it's not getting cold enough here to freeze it down deep, so we still have mud underneath. We've actually had a lot colder winter than we usually have here. We're usually pretty mild winters. But with the way the weather patterns have changed, you never know what you're going to get anymore. There's no telling what the weather's going to do. We usually get 12 inches of rain here, and we had, I'd say, the better part of 50 inches of rain this year. So, it's just, everything's so messed up anymore. It's kind of hard to know what to do. We had a 4-year drought just a couple years ago that, we've had 2 good years of rain now, and before that we had 4 years that not a drop of rain. And now we're getting 50 inches of rain. It's kind of, I don't know. I'm holding my breath to see what this year does. If we get another good year of rain, that'd be fantastic. It'd heal a lot of the scars from the drought, but it could be just as dry as it was. That's the scary part. And cattle market would at least go back up. Everyone wouldn't have anything to sell, but that I'm having problems with my camera. I don't know, I probably just talked for 10 minutes and did a bunch of dirt work and explained how the overflows work on these tanks, and come to find out my camera wasn't on. You can Yeah, it's almost brand new. I don't really use it that much. Push the button for it to start recording and it didn't record, so I'm just gonna point it out to you. I got this done. You know, it's all muddy anyway, so I'm not gonna do too much of it. Right there, that pipe, that's our overflow pipe, and it runs along here, just straight down here. I'm surprised it's not sitting on the ground as shallow as it is, but that's it. And I got it kind of cleaned out. I need to run some barbed wire up in it to help clean it out when the tank's full to get a good flow. But you know, everything's so muddy, I just kind of dug a little slip trench over to there. Once it starts drying out, I can come back in here and just dig a right pond, you know, right size pond for this deal. That way it just stops running down the road. This being an electric well, it has a time clock on it, so you can set how long the pump is on, so it's not just overflowing all the time. But you know, with fluctuation in cow numbers and temperatures, they drink more, they drink less. There's more cows in here because we're always moving cows around where we need them, so you don't always get the right time to get these tanks balanced, and so you really need an overflow in them. It's one of my bird ladders right there, so all the birdies can be safe. But it's always something, you know. I pointed out that we had, God, I don't know how many tanks that we've got to do this on, but we have quite a few of them that need it done on. It's one of those things you got to kind of pick your projects, because there's always just so much to do, and there's never enough time or never enough money to do it all. So but you kind of got to decide what's really important. Like these tanks, you don't want them to get bad enough that the rim will separate, because then you can lose a tank, and you know, they cost a couple $3,000-4,000 to put a new tank in like that. They're not cheap at all, so you've got to kind of stay up with them. But we've got, you know, right now it's in the winter, so we spend at least half of our days checking all the cows, feeding them their range cubes, you know, checking them as they're calving. You know, we can spend more than half a day just doing that. I spend half my day at the grow yard and checking all the calves on weed, and so you have little time to do all the improvement projects that you need to do. We've got miles and miles and miles of fences that need to be fixed, rebuilt, just completely taken out and have a new one put in. And you know, that's the one thing about here in New Mexico or any of the western states. You know, the ranches are they're pretty good sized in acres compared to anything back, you know, the Midwest, anywhere east of here. But we have to have so much more land to produce. So you know, you take East Texas, you can run a cow to 3 acres. Here where I'm at, you can run a cow to 35 acres. You know, it takes us 35 acres just to have enough feed for one cow. And honestly, in a dry year, if you don't get that 15 inches, 12 inches rain, you probably better have 40 acres. You know, it can get, and we're really good. We have a lot of grass here down in the southern part of the state where I went to college. It's 100 acres per cow, and that is some of the best grass. So you can have just entire sections of land, you know, 640 acres, and you might have 3 cows out there because that's all the grass that there is. You know, so when you start looking at fencing, and we have a lot of cross fences, which I don't really like, but that's what there is here, and that's how we run it. You know, just perimeter fences on a small ranch out here, you can have 20-30 miles of just perimeter fence just to keep your cows off your neighbors or your neighbor cows off you. And then you start taking all your interior fences, if you have cross fences, and it adds up. So that goes back to the, you know, you got to kind of pick your battles. You can't have new fences on your entire place because it would just, you'd never be able to pay for it. Out here, a mile of fence for someone to come build it for you is upwards of $8,000 for a mile of fence. You know, that's when you start figuring out how many miles of fences that you really do have, it gets pretty expensive. So, you know, that's one thing about ranching. You gotta pick your battles if you're getting started in it, or even if you've been in it for a long time. But that's kind of all I've got to say right now before I start going off on a terrible rant. So thanks for watching.